The Tao of Self-Confidence, Episode 18. Welcome to the Tao of Self-Confidence, where I share stories of amazing women finding their inner journey to self-confidence 5 days a week. Visit our blog at thetaoofselfconfidence.com. Hello, friend. Welcome to the Tao of Self-Confidence, where I share stories of phenomenal women who have discovered their inner journey to self-confidence. I'm your host today, Sheena Yap Chan, and today's episode, I actually have a very special guest here. Funny how I found this person. I was going through the internet searching for, just looking for women, especially in the Asian culture, who's just done such amazing things, right? And, when I was searching, there's this one website that I checked out, and it was a letter, right? It was called A Letter to the Filipino Woman. And I read this letter because it's something I can resonate with since I was born in the Philippines. I know what it's like to be a Filipino woman, always loving on people, being, the best we can be. But sometimes we also have to sacrifice ourselves to please others. And that's something that not just only Filipino women, but most women in Asian cultures have to go through, right? And sometimes we have to realize, it's okay to be a little bit selfish. It's okay to love ourselves too before loving others, because we can't expect people to love us if we can't even love ourselves to begin with. So then, I was reading her story and I loved it. And it's funny because I left her a comment saying, I really loved the letter that you wrote down. And, it was something that was really inspiring. And, I got an email back saying, thank you, right? And I was like, wow, she replied to me, right? So I was like, maybe I can ask her for the podcast, right? And I was a little hesitant at first because this person never knew who I was. I was just this one girl who decided to leave a comment on the blog. And, I kind of was thinking about it. And here's me having a podcast about self-confidence. And I was too scared to ask this person, right? And I was thinking, the worst thing she could say is no, right? And if I could live with that, that's fine. So I went ahead anyways and asked her, and she said yes. So I was really excited. I read a little bit more about her. Her name is Ruby Veridiano. She's right now currently in Paris, right? She lives in Paris, France. Ooh la la, right? That's what they say. And, I read a little bit more about her. She's like a social activist. She's also, empowering, Asian women out there to live a better life, to be their own person, to have a voice. So I'm going to introduce you to Ruby Veridiano. Ruby, maybe you can fill in a little bit more about yourself to the listeners.
Sure. Well, first off, bonjour. Since I am in Paris, I'm actually American. Filipino-American. I grew up in California, but was born in the Philippines, and I moved to Paris about a year and a half ago to pursue graduate school. And so, earlier you were asking me, okay, how do I introduce you? And I guess the best way to introduce me is I'm a women's empowerment champion and a social responsibility consultant and an activist. And I prefer to introduce myself in that way because there's many different ways in which that work manifests in real life. I could either be writing about these topics, I could be speaking about these topics, hosting a television show about these types of topics, or consulting organizations and businesses who are interested in creating social impact. So voila, that's kind of in a nutshell what I do, and I hope that is clear and makes sense, because I know I wear a lot of different hats, but the mission is always the same, and that is to empower women, and mostly to empower them to be social change leaders, to help them to understand that they have the power to create a positive impact in themselves and in the world.
I love that. And, I love how we both want the same things for women, right? Just, change for the better, change for them to realize they have a voice in the world and they're here for a reason. They need to speak out that voice because they never know who can they inspire in the process of finding themselves. Ruby, I just have some questions for you. The first one is, what is your favorite self-confidence quote?
Ooh, okay. Well, the one I have is actually something that I rediscovered again recently, and I have to find it because it's quite long, but I'm just going to read a little part of it, like little clips of it. It's by Marianne Williamson, and you've probably heard of it. It starts off as, our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. It is our light, not our darkness, that most frightens us. We ask ourselves, who am I to be brilliant, gorgeous, talented, and fabulous? Actually, who are you not to be? And then I'm going to cut off to another part of the quote that's, you playing small does not serve the world. There is nothing enlightened about shrinking so that other people won't feel insecure around you. We are all meant to shine.
I love that. And I had another lady who also has that as one of her favorite quotes as well. So yeah, it's a really great one. I've heard it before, and it's just really like, just makes you want to say, yep, it's time for me to just go out there and just get it done. So very, very awesome quote. In your own words, what would be your definition of self-confidence?
I think it would be about self-worth and self-love. I think those are the two main things about confidence that I find that one, I feel like in order for you to bloom where you are planted, you have to, really set your roots in something really strong. And I think setting your roots in love and valuing yourself are two really core pillars that allow you to bear the fruits that you are meant to have. And also, when you love yourself and you value yourself, that makes it so much easier for you to love and value other people. One of the things that I really love about that Marianne Williams quote is that you shouldn't be shrinking around other people. And in the same way, for me, I feel that when people are shining, you shouldn't be. A lot of people feel threatened by other people's successes. And I think that when you are truly a loving person, and a person that values herself or himself, when you see another person shine, you see it as like, wow, like their light reflects on me, not like, oh my God, they're threatening, or, they think they're too good to be whatever. I think it's just about like, if you know that you love yourself, then you are much more able and more equipped to love other people and to help other people recognize their value as well.
I love it. And it's true, right? It has everything that has to do with self-confidence always has to start inside you, right? Your inner game. You have to realize that you have to love yourself and accept yourself for who you are. And I get it. We got these little voices in our head that tell us, no, you're crazy. Don't listen to me, or don't listen to Ruby, right? This is not a podcast I should be listening to, but it is, right? Because you're here because you want change, and not just any kind of change, a transformational change inside you so that everything else around you can be affected as well in a good way. So I really love that definition that you had, Ruby. What was your life like before you had this discovery of self-confidence?
Oh gosh, well, I think the reason why I'm so confident now is because I had to go through such a rough journey. I think when I was younger, I didn't have the tools that I have now. I'm now in my 30s. And, a lot of women freak out about being in their 30s, but I personally love it. Oh my gosh, I've arrived in my 30s and I now know myself completely. And I have developed a kind of joy that is born out of resilience. And what I mean by that is that when I was, a lot younger, I let a lot of little things bother me, and I let a lot of things shape how I felt about myself. And I let a lot of things bother me and influence me. And I think that that's just a common thing, right? Because, when you're young, your mind and your spirit are very malleable. It can be easily influenced. So you have to be very selective about who you let into your, kind of circle. But when I was younger, I know that I wasn't at all, nowhere near as confident as I feel now, because I was still learning how to love myself. I know that I was very focused on other people's opinions. I was very much, always having to think about, okay, if I did this, how would it make other people feel? Or, and then at the end of the day, it's like, okay, well, I shouldn't really be doing or pursuing an action because of other people. It should be because I want to do it. And I also think that when I was younger, I wasn't as grateful. And I think gratitude has been one of the main things that really changed my life. Because I was more grateful, I understood what I had in my life instead of focusing on what I didn't have. And I think when we focus on what we don't have, that also really feeds into our own insecurities. But when you recognize that actually my life is abundant and there's so many good things in it. And when you recognize all the good things that are in your life, how can you not feel confident about who you are because you have so many blessings?
That's so true, right? It doesn't matter how big or small that act of gratitude is, or, what you're thankful for. It just starts a ripple effect of attracting the right things into your life. And I know what you mean, right? When I was when we were in their 20s, it's like, why aren't I doing this? Or why didn't I get that? Or why don't I have a boyfriend? It's like we're asking all the wrong questions and we're attracting the wrong things. But, now 30s, right? They say it's the new 20s anyway, so it's all good. But, you start asking the right questions, right? It's like, what's my purpose in life? What am I supposed to do with myself? Or, what is it that I can do to make the world a better place, right? I never would have thought of these kind of questions when I was in my 20s either. And it's amazing when you start learning more about yourself, when you start finding out more about yourself, the things that can attract into your life. So, what was kind of like your aha moment when you realized you are powerful, you do have a voice, and, it's your duty out there to, tell the world what you're all about and what your purpose is?
Right. I mean, my aha moment is always going to be like Oprah Winfrey, duh. No, I'm just kidding. Every time I read Oprah, I have like an aha moment. I'm like, oh my, she's like my mentor in my head. She doesn't know it, but one day. But, let's see, I guess aha moment. I mean, one of the aha moments I had was gratitude, like really grasping this concept of gratitude, recognizing that like, oh my God, the more I give thanks in my life, the more I welcome good things. And the more gratitude I express, the more abundant my life becomes. And it's just because I think it's just what I'm giving off and what we are projecting into the world comes back to us, right? It comes back and it reflects off of us. So I think gratitude is definitely one of the aha moments. But I think in terms of like what you're saying about finding purpose, I was an accidental performing artist for 7 years. And the reason why I say accidental is because, when I was in my undergraduate degree, my bachelor's degree, I was going to school at the University of California, Davis, and I had discovered the art of spoken word, which for people who don't know what it is, it's basically like a cross between performance and poetry and a little bit of hip hop theater. And I got really, really passionate about it. And mind you, as a very good Filipino girl, I entered university with the intention of being pre-med. And then took a few classes that made me cry and was like, okay, this is not for me. I was like, I can't be pre-med. I really, really wanted to be pre-med, but I'm just not good at this. So I ended up taking up a lot of classes in Asian American studies and sociology. And those classes really made me understand how not only proud I am, but just kind of awakened an incredible sense of self-worth in me because I was so impressed by my own history. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is where I come from. This is amazing. And how can I not want to learn more? So merging that new knowledge with my newfound discovery of spoken word, I started to create art, poetry and art that really helped me to express the voice of Asian American women and women in general. And we formed this group in college, and I ended up always being the only girl. And and it went really well, in our school. And after we graduated, I thought it was just going to be a hobby. I thought, okay, I paid for school by myself and I need to get a real job where I need to make sure that I can pay for my student loan bill like every month on time. And, I was really freaked out by all of those things, but I was really unhappy in my first job. And, I took one weekend to take my performing arts career seriously. Me and my friends who were in that group, we submitted a few, press kits to colleges around the nation. And as a joke, I sent it to the American University of Paris. And this was back in 2005. And they ended up being the first school to hire us as professional artists at the age of 21. So that was pretty cool. Like, I thought that was really like divine intervention. And it's so funny because that's really what sparked my career. And that experience took me all over the world. And whenever I would perform on stage, it was always a woman that would come after the show and would tell me, I've always wanted to say that, but I didn't know how. And so every time a woman told me that, oh my gosh, this was a story that I never knew how to tell myself and you told it for me, that's when I knew that I had to keep going. And so, that art and that purpose still stays with me. I'm no longer a performing artist. I've evolved in my career, but the purpose has always been the same, to empower women, to help women find their voice. And to understand that, and to help them understand that there is a strength inside of them. And I want to help them find it, because if they can't know how to love themselves or how to find power in themselves, then they can't give of themselves either, right? Like, how can you inspire the world if you don't feel inspired in yourself?
I totally agree, right? It really does have to start with us. Like, for me, I've always wanted to find a platform to celebrate women's success, kind of like yours, right? And it's like, why am I trying to find it? Why can't I just create it and just, start building it, and more women will see that, anything's possible, right? If you want change in the world, it does have to start with us, right? If they always say, be the change that you want to see in the world. Kind of like you started your performing arts, right? Started this podcast. Everything that you want, change really does have to start with you. And I'm glad you were able to find it in your heart, in your art, and you were passionate about it. And like, it's true, right? Success leaves clues, and sometimes you might not be in the same career position as you are now, but it's leading you to the path that you're supposed to be doing. So that's really amazing. And I mean, what's your life like now? I mean, other than, living in Paris, ooh la la.
Well, it's so funny because I ended up going back to graduate school, and I ended up going to the American University of Paris. So the journey of coming to Paris is like coming full circle, because I graduated from that school exactly 10 years after I came the first time to start my journey as a performing artist, as a speaker, as a television host, as a writer. So, right now I've come to Paris at such a great and opportune time, because I really learned how to fall in love with my own company. And I just love I love the idea of, I'm just so happy that I had the opportunity to explore the world and to explore Paris as a woman that felt good about being in her own skin.
That's great. I'm really happy for you that, everything worked out for the best. And I'm sure you're going to have many more opportunities to spread your message, spread your purpose. So, if I just have a couple more questions.
Yeah.
To the woman who's listening to your episode, right? She's listening to this and she's like, wow, I love Ruby's story. Like, it's so inspiring. And, she's on her own inner journey to self-confidence. What's the one tip that you would give her?
The one tip that I would give her, I would really want to go back to this concept of gratitude. It's really like the one easy thing that you can do to really make a transformation in your life. Every morning or every day, as much as I can, I write down 5 things that I'm grateful for. And I think when you focus on what you have, and when you focus on being thankful for all the things that are going right instead of focusing on the things that are going wrong, you really begin to project a different type of energy to the world, and people can feel that and people can see that. And when you are more grateful, you emit more joy, and that kind of joy attracts a lot of really positive things. So I think, if you are a woman who is struggling with unhappiness or insecurity or loneliness, anything like that, I think one of the things that I would really advise them to do is, starting today, pick up a pen and write 5 things that you could be grateful for. And really, I think the practice of just being able to give thanks for the little things prepares you to receive the big blessings. And also fall in love with your own company. I think sometimes people get so scared to, even take themselves for a meal at a restaurant by themselves or go to the movies by themselves. I think that there's this like weird message that society gives us that like, you have to be someone's better half, or, that you're incomplete without another person. But, the other day I saw a quote that was, some people are too busy finding the right person to become the right person. I think that once you really begin to, one, be grateful, as you can see, I'm very big on gratitude. Once you've really focused on gratitude and you focus on being whole and complete and your own person as you, I think a lot of things in life just transforms, and things just get, you start to see that your life changes in the way that you appreciate.
Thank you so much for that tip. And it's true, right? Being in your own company is probably one of the biggest lessons I learned too in my own journey. I mean, I went to Hawaii for like almost 6 months, and a lot of people thought, they're like, why are you doing that? You're crazy, right? I mean, I've been called crazy so many times, I find it a compliment. But, just going somewhere on your own, you find out a lot about yourself that you never thought was possible, that power inside you, that peacefulness and stability. So it's really great, like what Ruby said, to just do something on your own, whether it's something as small as going to the movies, going to the restaurant by yourself. It really helps you learn to become, to be able to enjoy being by yourself, right? And I'm not saying doing it all the time, right? But if you want to learn to love yourself, you got to start enjoy some of the things that you do by yourself, like go to the beach by yourself and just swim out into the ocean. I mean, there's no better feeling than just walking there and just, taking in all that nature, all that peacefulness. And it's the greatest feeling. So I'm really glad you mentioned, being able to enjoy your own company, because I think few women do realize it's a necessity to do that, right? To be able to find themselves. So Ruby, if there's if anyone wants to contact you, what would be a great way to check what you're all about? I mean, do you have a blog? Do you have a website that we can check out on the internet?
It's really easy to find me. It's just my first and last name. I'm on Instagram a lot, so people can find me on @Ruby Veridiano, and then you can also find me on my website. I'll have a new website up very soon, but it will be just www.rubyveridiano Veridiano.com. So there.
Sweet. I can't wait to see the new website. I'm sure it's going to be awesome. It's going to be great. And I just want to thank you for taking the time to do this interview. I mean, it was such a pleasure for you to, even when you said yes, I was kind of excited.
It's my pleasure. Thank you for stopping by and coming and reading my blog. And, I'm always really excited also to meet other women who kind of share the same mission. And, I think it's really cool too to just make global connections. That's what the internet is for. It's about, the internet can be a really scary place as well, but at the same time, it also brings people together, and it allows the world to be smaller in a good way.
Yep, that's so true. I mean, you can use the internet for good things, and that's what we want to do, right? Just use it for good, to inspire women out there to just go out there and just bring your voice out, break out of that shell, because, you deserve something better. So if you want to check out Ruby's links, just head over to thetaoofselfconfidence.com, search for Ruby's name. Her show notes will pop up along with everything else we talked about. And again, I just want to thank you, Ruby, for sharing your journey with us on today's episode. And to the listeners out there, be on the lookout for a brand new episode of another amazing woman's journey to self-confidence. Bye for now.
Bye.
Thank you for joining us on the Tao of Self-Confidence. Visit thetaoofselfconfidence.com for links to everything we chatted about today, as well as killer resources, gifts, and so much more. Start your inner journey to self-confidence today.